So I'll just share my screen. So in the previous session, we have discussed the main concepts in JavaScript like objects, arrays, string manipulation, and all other methods. So today we'll be focusing more on the ES6 concepts that we have discussed in the previous class, that after a few modifications and few extensions, there has been a new concept called EX6 being introduced in JavaScript. So in that we'll be having like arrow functions, object methods, uh, array manipulation, and all other things. So we'll be discussing all those things in this session. And this is I have two files here. One is the index.html file and index.js file, which is an empty file. So I have included this index.js file by using the script tag in HTML. So I'll try to run this in the browser. You can see the output is being rendered in the user. Just inspect this. So in the previous class, we have gone through the objects as well, like how to create an object in JavaScript and how to insert an elements into object, how to delete the elements in the object, and how we can iterate through the objects. So in this class, I'll discuss some other inbuilt methods that are being used in the object. So let's consider, let's create a small object, and I'll just give position maybe senior. Type maybe contract. So I will, let's take a dummy text. HDF. So I'll just try to console this output, object output. So once I save here and see in the browser, I can see the output is being displayed in the console output. So I have all the properties like is available, position, and type. So now we'll go discuss some of the methods, inbuilt methods that are present in the object. So first one is like object.create. It is being represented by keyword like object.create. So the object.create method is used to create a new object and link it to the reference of the existing object. For example, if you want to create a new object called object1 or object2, and you want an exact copy of this particular object, then you can use this keyword like object.create, and you can link to that reference. So I'll just show you an example. Constant new object equal to object.create, and you will pass the reference as obj, the name of the old object. So I'll just try to console the new object. It's an empty. So an object would be created, and to point this to the reference, you need to maybe assign it to the new values like new object dot maybe position equal to junior, and I'll try to print new object. So you can see a new position is being added to this new object. So similarly, you can copy a reference of this by using this create. So this is one of the method in JavaScript for creating a new object. And we have one more keyword, like we have like so many keywords here. So we'll be discussing all the things here. So we also have object.keys, which gives all the key values. So in the object, we have this position, type, and is available. So all these things are called as keys, and this senior, contract, and this boolean, these are called as values. So if you want to get only keys or only values, previously you need to loop. Likewise, show you in object console log I. Key. So you want to access likewise. So on each iteration in the I value, you'll be getting the key value. And if you access the key value from the object, you'll be getting the value. So I'll just console this and you can see the key is position. And I'll just add here. So you can see the key is position and value is senior. So previously you need to access all these key values and values similarly. So instead of this loop, we can directly access these key values by using constant keys equal to object.keys. This is a keyword in the present in the object. So I'll just try to console this key. So you can see all the keys are being rendered in the form of array. So you can index directly the elements that are present in this array. And if you want the values here, we have a keyword as well for that, like values. So you will get all the values that are present in this object. Just change this. So you will get the values, list of values here. You can see all the values like senior, contract, and true are being displayed in the browser. So this is the direct accessible way of accessing the keys and values in the object. And we also have like assign. Just comment this. Object.assign. So the in the previously we have seen that object.create is used to create a new object which has a reference similar to that, but we don't get all these key and value pairs in that new object. But if you want to get the similar replica of the old object, you will be using object.assign method to copy all the values from old object to new object. So I'll create a new object called maybe new object equal to first name John, last name as Smith. So I want to create a new object which contains all the values from the object and the new object. So I'll be using latest object equal to object.assign. You can directly get a copy of single thing. I'll just print, I'll just show you the console. I'll print here. So you can see the latest object have all the keys and values of that particular. So in some cases, if you want to get all the values from object, a new object, and so on, if you have like n number of objects, you can directly place the comma separated and you can give the name of that those particular objects. So I have given the old object and the new object as well in the assign function. So my latest object would be with all these things like position, type is available, first name and last name. So I'll save this. And if I print, you can see all the values from the new two objects are being copied to a new object and it is being displayed in the latest object. So you can get all the keys and values in that. So this is one method for creating multiple reference objects in a single one. And we also have like so many object methods. So you can go through the MD docs or any tutorials like W3 schools and have a very good knowledge on these things as well. So this regarding the objects. So we'll be continuing with default parameters in JavaScript. So this is used in the functions. So I'll just remove all this code. So we know that simple function is created like maybe Q return, just pass any value like X. Simple. So I want to get a cube of a digit or a number. So I'll just call this, and maybe I'll pass the ls10. So this is a simple generic form of writing a function in JavaScript. So we'll be going through like how we can use the default parameters in JavaScript. So if you see, just console this. So you can see the cube of that element is given. So this is the generic form we have discussed in our previous sessions, like how to create a function and how to create functions in multiple ways, like arrow function, anonymous function, general function. So in this, we are going to see the default parameters. So for example, I'll give a value as 5, maybe 5. So in this case, we are placing this 5 as a default parameter for this parameter. You mean if you don't pass any of the value in the function, in the function call, if you don't provide any of the input, then by default it will assign 5 to this X and you will return 5 into 5 into 5. Just show here. So you can see the 125 is being printed. If you pass any of the value like maybe 7, so this default value will be neglected by the JavaScript compiler, and this value that what we are going to pass will be taken into consideration, and it will use this as a higher priority and will return the output. So you can see the cube of 7, like 343 is printed. So this is the default parameter. So in some cases, if you in real-time projects, like you will be having a scenarios where if the condition is true or false, so you'll be giving like by default X would be false, and in some of the cases, if you get the data, you will call that function with the true, and you need to perform some operation. So in that cases, these default parameters will be very much useful. So this is the way you can define the you can give n number of things like 5, maybe y equal to 15. So similarly, you can give a number of parameters that you want, and you can directly call those things as well. So this is the simple use case of like default parameters. So first, I don't pass anything. So you need to get the output as 20. If I pass any of the value, then it would change to that with higher priority. You can see the value that we have passed is being rendered here. So this is the usage, and we can also use as parameters similar to functions as well here. So now we'll be focusing on destructuring REST parameters and spreadsheet syntax in JavaScript. So these are also included in the ES6 concepts in JavaScript. So these are widely used across real-time projects. So I'll just show you some of the examples using which we can make use of these concepts. So I'll just create a new object called node, maybe. So why I'm focusing much on these objects, because in JavaScript, these objects is like a backbone for the JavaScript. So you will be dealing with all the data that in the form of objects, you'll be playing with the concepts which mainly result through these objects. So having a very good knowledge on these objects is very much required as a UI developer, or if you want to become a good JavaScript developer. I'll just give ideas one, maybe. date as new date. I'm just creating a new date with this using this date instance in JavaScript. This is an inbuilt method like maths file, and maybe title. Just print. So you can see an object with date, ID, and title is being rendered in the console. So, if you want to access independent value, like if you want to access ID, or if you want to access date, or if you want to access title, then you need to directly use node dot date or node dot idle or ID or title. So this is the way you can access these things. So you will get the particular value. But in some cases, like in when your object grows on grows continuously, like it has many childs in it. For example, you have child, and there is also a separate object inside this. Inside you have some key and some value, maybe 3, and here you have another method. So this is like object within object and object within object. So in these cases, accessing these particular, so if you want to access, I'll just give good naming convention, like name good child. So if you want to access this node, this age in the child object of node object, then you need to give node dot child. So you'll be using this dot operator here for accessing all the elements within the object in the lower level. So if you get like node dot child, you will get these object. And if you give another dot here, you will get access to these elements. So by using Visual Studio Code, it will automatically show you references, like it will auto complete your code by showing the suggestions as well. So it will be very helpful while using Visual Studio for development. So I'll just queue the age. So I'll try to print this. So you can get the value of that particular item. So this way, this is okay. Like if you have like multiple chains in an object, so accessing those things should be very hectic in long process. So in order to minimize those things, we'll directly give the names like ID, title, date, title, and I'll directly give the node. So this is called destructuring of objects. So from the node object, it will check like for the ID property and will assign directly the ID property to this. And from the node reference, it will check for the date property and it will assign to this, and vice similarly for all the elements. So instead of using these long, you can directly get maybe ID. Previously, you want to write like node dot ID for accessing the ID, but now you can, after destructuring these props, you can directly access by using this ID. So you can see the ID is being printed. Just change the ID. You can see the ID is being printed. So in this way, you can destructure your properties from the object and you can console those things. And similarly, you can go in depth. So if you want to access this child as well, you can directly, since this child is a sub object inside a parent object, you need to use a curly braces here, and you need to give like name comma age. You need to give a name for this as well, like child. So I'll try to access direct the name. You can see the name of the child is being printed. So in this way, you can, if you have like multiple objects within the object, you can destructure those properties and you can console them. So this is the use case of destructuring your properties and for objects as well. So just do like conjugate equal to maybe 1970. Just taking a dummy random data. If I want to get the year, I'll be using date of 0 per year. Just copy this. So 0, 1. So to get the values from this particular array, date array, you need to access like year equal to date of 0, date of 1 and 2. So I'll just try to console first the year. So if you see my year is being printed, but for three elements in an array with this, we can directly access by using this. But what if you have an array with size like maybe large number of data? So accessing this would be difficult. So instead of this, you can directly use like similar to object, you can directly destructure array as well. Like maybe I'll give year, month, and day. I'll directly give to this date. So what it does is like from the, it will give a reference to this array, and in this array, this year will be assigned to this first element, the month will be assigned to the second element, and the day will be assigned to this third element. So similarly, it will continuously go in this way if you have like multiple things. So you can directly print the year as well here. If you see the year is being printed, and you can see the day is also being printed here. So this is the way you can destructure the arrays as well. If you have like nested arrays in some conditions, maybe yeah, 3, 4. So if you want to access these elements, then you can directly make use of or I can directly use this and access the elements to be printed. So you can see the element is being printed here. So you can destructure the objects in this way and the array in this way in JavaScript. So this one way, and the spread syntax. Spread syntax is a similar syntax. This is also one of the vast, widely used syntax in JavaScript. I'll just comment this code. So I have one array, maybe array equal to or I have like data. Stuffing. So you can copy all these items. So spread syntax is used to copy all the items without using the reference. So it is denoted by 3 dots, like dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot is used to access all the elements in an array or in an object without having the actual reference. So for example, if you in the previous methods, we have used like object.assign, object.create. So those will create the objects, but they will face to a the particular object's reference. But without, you don't have to, in future, if you don't want the reference to that particular object, you can copy all the values by using the spread operator. So I'll just show you that const new array, maybe new array equal to empty array. Inside an empty array, I'll give these 3 dots and I'll write RR. So what it does is like, it'll just copy all the values from this array to this array without copying the reference. So I'll just try to print this new array. So you can see all the items from the old array is being copied to this new array. Similarly, I have these object. I'll just So just remove this. So I'll just try to copy all the values from the note object into this new array. So I will get an output like array. In this array, I'll be having these object values. So I'll just print this. So you can see. Second. Node is not iterable at index 24. Sorry, we have this child and other properties here, so we cannot directly access these things. We can use this way, like I just try to print.
Sì, ti printiamo tanti. Guarda
No dot child.
రాత్రి వరకు తినను నువ్వు 16 ఫోన్
And
16 సార్లు 18 సార్లు 18 నంబర్స్
can use this spread in object as well. I can directly pass the object here. So you can see array of object here. In that you have all the elements, so within array of objects. So similarly, for object as well, I'll show you this is an array. I'll just show you the object scenario. Object equal to object. I'll copy all the values from the node object into this. So I'll just try to check. So you can see a new object is being created by using the spread syntax, 3 dots, and you'll get all the values that are presented in these values. So you can see the new object contains all the values from that. So here we are not using any object.create or object.assign. We are just directly using the spread syntax and accessing all the elements from the old object. Yeah, this is one way. And we can also go to the so we have like the rest operators as well here. So I'll be using the rest here. So maybe I'll be using some function rest. Inside this, I'll be using args. So console dot. So test. So these rest operator, rest parameters is used for passing n number of parameters to your function. So suppose currently in your project you are only passing single item to this method called test, then it'll get all the items in the form of, so in the args would be like 1, and if you pass like 1,2, so arg should be like 1,2 in the form of array. It will get all the elements. So if you want like n number of parameters to be passed to this function, you can directly pass using these args. So I'll just console this and I'll show you. Like initially, if I pass single value, you'll get like array of 1, and if I'll pass like hello, and you can see like array of 2 elements. So if you want like n number of things, like maybe true, you get. So what is the use case of this is like in general function, if you want to pass maybe like 3 parameters, like you are passing like 3 arguments in your function call, you need to have like 3 parameter assigned in your function body as well to get all the values. But in the usage of this rest parameters, you will directly access all the values that you're going to pass in this function call by using these args, and you're going to utilize these args in your file. So this is the use case of rest parameters. So this spread and this rest parameters are widely used in many scenarios in JavaScript. So that is one one of the use case. And we also covered like template literals in our previous session. For those who have missed these template literals, I'll just show you a small demo. Suppose you have a function called, this is a type of arrow function. We have gone through this arrow function as well in the previous session. So if you don't understand this concept, you can go through the previous recordings and you can get the idea regarding this. Yeah, just I'll try to print x plus y. So console log, I'll just some 5, so I need to get the output as 10. So you'll get the output as 10. So if you want to directly access this, so for example, I'll just show you maybe const name equal to hello, const age equal to 20. So for more simplicity, I'll just remove this function as well. I'll just remove this thing as well. So I'll just try to print this const string str maybe. So you'll be using these template literals by using these backticks. The one that is present in the top of this tab window. So is some
discussing calling you back.
my name
What is the preferred time?
is hello. So you'll be using this dollar symbol to access this name value. And my age is this. So if I try to save and print the string, you are trying to access this name and age inside your string by using these template literals. So this is one of the use case of using template literals. So if you see the output, my name is hello and my age is 20. So you are directly accessing your JavaScript variables inside your string. Like there are like so many usages. If you have like multiple strings or childs within the objects, so usage of these would be very much helpful for accessing all the JavaScript related content. So next thing will be like accessing modules and knowledge about import and export statements in JavaScript. I think everyone are understanding. So if you are stuck in any place, or if you are not able to understand, please stop me, or please unmute yourself and please speak up so we can get more clarified regarding that concept. So I think everyone is understanding. So I have like Pavani, Usha, Mahalakshmi, everyone. Okay, cool.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if you're stuck in any of the area, you please stop me so that we can discuss in more depth there. I'll just show you the modular programming. So in this example, in the whole session, in the previous session, I am using only this index.js file. So for example, like in the real world project, you'll be having like multiple files, like based on your project, it could be like 10, 20 files or 100 files or even 1,000 or maybe like multiple thousands of files. So for example, I'll just create a file called maybe you like function.js, operations.js, operation.js, and I'll also create a new file called methods.js. So I'll try to console all the things. hello from index.js file. File hello from method file. So consider, for example, you are having 3 files. So if you save and execute, you will only find this hello from index file. Why? Because you didn't include these 2 files like operations and methods. So I'll just go to this script. Just copy this, and you can use like multiple scripts within your HTML file, and you can directly access that file. Maybe operations. Methods. So let's save this. You can see all the consoles from multiple files are being rendered. So all your files are being utilized in your HTML file. So another drawback of having a single file is like, for example, you have an operations method like some addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, everything. So if you are having like thousands of lines of code for multiple functionalities and placed within the same file, so it is not always suggested for having that large amount of code in a single file, and the accessing that would be uh, difficult for accessing the same methods which in the same file. So it is always suggested to have like multiple files with each file is used for a particular specific task. So we have a concept in software like dry concept. So we need to have a particular specific task for particular functionality, and we should not put the dependency as well in that. So that's why we'll be having like accessing in the modular programming approach. And for example, I'll just write some data here. Maybe function sum by, and you're returning x plus. So we have written this function in this file name called operation.js. But if you want to access the same method in multiple files, you need to export these files. So if you write the keyword as export, then JavaScript will tell that this particular function is exported, and all other files can import this function, and they can use this functionality. So in real cases, you will be having each method or each functionality in different files. So in order to access those, you will be using likewise. So I'll just go to this index.file and just remove these methods as well. So here I'll try to import the file called import sum from operation.js file. We'll try to use the sum and pass 2 values like 5, 10. Then you should get the output from that particular thing. Oh, you cannot use import statement outside a module. So 1 second, I'll just remove this. For this, I can use like type module. If you want to expose your functions to other files, you need to provide like type module. So all these concepts will be neglected by using Angular and React. So they will be using different architecture. So all these complex concepts will be neglected there. So I'll just try to save. You can see the output from that particular file is being rendered. So I have written the function sum in the operations file. I'm utilizing this function in the index file by importing the particular function from that particular file, and I'm sending the output. So here I am exporting this as a normal file. So there would be this is called as a named export. So you are directly exporting your function like an export, and you need to use the same name that you have been exposed. So for example, here you have written the name as sum and you have directly exported. This is known as, this ways of exporting is called named export. And you want to use the same name that you have been used in your file. So if I use like sum1, and if I try to this, I'll get an error because the someone is not present in that. So you need to use the same name that you have been assigned in that particular file. So this is the usage of named export. So named export need to have the same name. So you'll be having this name. So if you don't want to use this named exports and you just want to have any other name, then you can directly use like default export. I'll just show you. You can directly write export default function sum. So here this representation is not required. You can write like sum. You can see you'll get the output. You can also give operation and you'll send like operation. So these is known as the default export. So you can name these import as per your convention and you can get the output. So this is like named kind of export and default export. And you can use like multiple ways here to export the operations. And let's just show you things as well. So you can also, for example, in this you have, maybe I'll just export this thing. You can have multiple exports within the file, like function, multiply, return sim to y, comma y. So in order to use these, you need to remove this unit. Since I'm using the named exports here, I'll use these curly braces and I'll get like sum comma multiply from that, and I'll use this sum and I'll use this multiply as well. If I save, you can get all the outputs like from these outputs from different methods, like 15 is for addition and 50 is for multiplication. You can directly access here within the curly braces whatever all the methods that you're going to use. Instead of this, you can also utilize these thing as per your name. Asterisk symbol is used if you want to get all the, suppose in this operation.js file, if you have like 100 functions and you don't always need to provide all these 100 functions in this curly braces, it would be like hectic process. So instead of that, you will directly use this asterisk symbol and as operations. So I'll just name it as operations. So these operations will be an operations similar to an operation object. So it would be like similar to operations. So internally what the JavaScript does is like, it will have this sum, this would be one function, and multiply, this would be one function. So similarly, in this way, JavaScript will interpret all your imports from using this. So similarly, if you want to get all the reference of the functions, you will directly use this asterisk symbol as operations from that particular. So here to access those, you'll be using operations.sum, because operations would be an object in which we'll be having all the reference of the functions. So you'll directly use operations.sum, operations.multiply. So you can see the output is being rendered. Once again, I'll save this, refresh. So you can see the data is being rendered. So this is the way if you want all the references to be rendered using the methods. And I have covered the default exports as well. So by this, we have like mostly covered our JavaScript concepts like arrays, objects, strings, object methods, array methods, and accessing those using for loops, for each loops, and spread operators, rest parameters, default arguments. So we have covered maximum concepts that are used for project development in this session. So from next week, we'll be continuing with Angular and React. And so before that, the prerequisites will be like you need to have the knowledge from HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript as well. So please go through all the recordings and get very good understanding regarding these three concepts like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Along with that, this course is like an overview of your concepts. Like we cannot cover entire concepts in this small amount of time. So it will just give an overview of what is what. So please go through the tutorials or documentation of the particular subject and get very good knowledge from them. And if you are if you get understanding, or if you're good with these three like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can get understanding of the Angular and React concepts, and you can easily get very good knowledge in the front-end technologies. So today I'll be stopping here. So see you on next week. I'll stop the recording.